And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Monday. So, yesterday I was checking out some YouTube and a clip from, actually I was watching the whole interview with Draymond Green on the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast came on, and they were talking about various things, and then they kind of got to talking about, the trouble that Draymond has been in the past few years, including the whole Rudy Gobert thing. And lo and behold, on this channel, those of you who follow this channel, we give LeBron James plenty of blame for this whole player entitlement movement, and that is a fact. LeBron James has a lot to do with it, but we cannot ignore the fact that it comes from the top as well. Matter of fact, more importantly, really, fanboys, I'm gonna give you a king a break here. More importantly, it does come from the top, and that is Commissioner Voldemort. Without him enabling this, without him supporting this, there would be no player entitlement movement. And on the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, Draymond Green talks about the suspension in quotation marks that he received after the whole Rudy Gobert thing. And Carmelo Anthony as well kind of talks about, how Adam Silver was really the change that bought and, they call it player empowerment, but this player entitlement movement. So without further ado, let's check out this clip.
People say the same shit.
Yeah, kids say the darndest things, man.
No
say
filter.
anything.
No filter. You want the truth? Yo, go talk to the kid. Super blunt.
So I was losing it on that, bro.
Yeah.
And I told Adam, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. And this, it's just not adding up for me. I'm also struggling. I'm fucked up, Adam. I am fucked up right now. And, I'm about to go to, counseling. Give me some, because I had done some counseling work before, but I didn't stay consistent. You know what I'm saying? I go, kind of stop, go, stop, go, stop. And what I ended up learning was that there's different levels to this shit. And
How deep you want to go?
You're only uncovering what you go to uncover. And so I knew there were some things for me that I needed to uncover, but I was afraid because once you uncover it, you better go do the work, And so I'm like, there's some things that I'm not really ready to face. And when this thing happened, and I'm talking to Adam, I'm like, I know I have some things that I need to uncover. I'm going to uncover them. And he's like, listen, you sound like you need time. I do need time. We're going to suspend you indefinitely. We're going to keep having conversations. You'll be talking to us. We'll be checking in on you. And you let me know what's your progress. We'll do progress checks and we'll see where you at and we'll keep checking in. And man, I always had a bunch of respect for Adam. Adam's great. But I gained so much respect for him because it went from you're the worst human being in the world to nah, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out together.
You're a man now. You're a human being.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so where do I start with this? My people, let me say this. I feel like I'm a compassionate person, and if someone is having some issues, I can definitely have some empathy for that and whatnot. But just because I have empathy does not mean I feel you shouldn't suffer the consequences for your actions. And this whole move by Adam Silver, so some people might look at it and say, oh, that's great, man. He work with. First of all, let me say this. I remember when that incident happened, and the whole thing about the suspension was kind of vague, and a few days it seemed like nobody knew what was going on, and then of course we come across with this indefinite suspension, which is kind of suspect at the time, because it's it felt like something about it just didn't feel like it was on the up and up. And then so listening to this, you come to find out that, okay, Adam Silver was basically like, hey, well, you're having a rough time, so go take care of yourself, and we'll suspend you indefinitely, and basically you just come back when you're ready. I'm sorry, no, this is ridiculous. To me, there needs to be definitive consequences for your actions. And now, after you suffer those consequences, then you can get some help, or you can get some help during the consequences. But there needs to be a definitive, like, hey, this action happened, we are suspending you for 3 weeks. Yeah, because that's great that you're gonna go take care of your mental health or whatever. That's great, and I'm not making light of mental health, but that's great. However, when you are dealing with a business of this magnitude that has so many factors depending on it, that has, again, these basketball players treat the NBA as if it's a right. As if it's a right and not a privilege to be playing. So to me, when you are running a business like that, it doesn't matter what. Again, we can go outside of the NBA. We can go into a regular office job. If you have someone who is repeatedly acting out, yeah, that's great. You can have some compassion for them. You can say, but there needs to be a definitive consequence for not only so that this person knows that, hey, look, I want you to get better, but the next time you do this, this is what's going to be, this is what you can expect. Again, there needs to be definitive consequences for that person so they know they can't get away with that. And on top of that, so the rest of the workers understand that this is not acceptable. But Adam Silver has allowed this whole player entitlement thing by being completely too soft with these players. And that's because, Adam Silver is soft. Basically. But anyway, let's keep going.
But what you had said in an earlier episode that is kind of Silver's flow, as opposed to like previously, like with Stern, it was like more Stern. You know what I'm saying, no pun intended. But like with Silver, he's more like a player. Like he'll get on a human level with you. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, for me, Adam was on that train of the change of culture in the NBA, right? That curve I was always talking. That curve in the NBA was happening, and Adam was starting to be the helm of that curve, right? Stern did what he did. He established this as one of the biggest businesses, one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest logos in the whole world. Adam come in and put his 1-2 to it, right? But now let's have conversation, players. Like if y'all want empowerment, hear what we got to say. And let's come together and see how we can partner so we can empower our athletes as well. And the minute he did that, everything shot up out the roof in the NBA. Players, everybody doing what they doing, content. You know what I'm saying? It's sky's the limit. So for him to step up there and stand on that and allow the players to kind of grow with the game as well too, right? Not just getting the check.
That's why motherfuckers be hugging the shit out of him at the draft and shit. He's like, yo, I know you got me, B.
I've been trying to hear that shit.
It's my dog right here.
Yeah. So basically you're saying Adam's bending over backwards or bending over for the players. So he talked about, Commissioner Stern, and this is my thing. I feel like, and this is just kind of what happens in society in general. The saying of, what is it? Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So I think you know this kind of general human nature. But basically, you know, it felt like Commissioner Stern built the business by being somewhat rigid. And now that the good times are rolling, and obviously we know that this is mostly due to Michael Jordan, it's the Michael Jordan effect on the NBA. But now that the good times are rolling, then you get the soft, cushy commissioner who comes in and about to ruin it, essentially. You know, he talks about Adam being on that train of change. And yeah, you change the ratings of the NBA. You change the ratings of the NBA. But yeah, you know, like I said, I said this before, you know, when I did a video on Allen Iverson, and you know, I talked about, and again, I'm a huge Allen Iverson fan, whatnot, but some of the changes that they allowed Allen Iverson to do, I just thought, you know, look in hindsight, because when it was happening, I was on board. But in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, you know what, this was the beginning of kind of allowing the players to take control. Even something simple, you know, like how you dress. You know, a lot of people don't agree with, you know, or a lot of people feel like, oh, well, you know, in the NBA, you should be able to dress how you want on the way to the games or whatnot. Or, you know, but I feel like this, you know, let's take it on the most simplistic basis. You know, if someone is in your house, they are in your house and you get to dictate the rules. If they don't like the rules, they can get out of your house. Well, it's the same if you own a business or are running a business. If you are the one who are running that business, and especially when it's a business where you're paying people millions of dollars to participate, to play, to me, you not being able to dress how you want is the least of my concerns. It's like, okay, well, don't dress that way and don't make the millions of dollars. It's really that simple. But to me, like back then, it seemed it was a smaller thing, you know. Oh, well, you know, just let people dress how they want. But to me, that was like the beginning of this whole thing taking place. And, you know, you hear Carmelo Anthony say, you know, Adam Silver being on board and saying this player empowerment. But I guess really the question is if you're making millions of dollars from the get-go, how are you not empowered? Again, to me, it's just like certain things are just comes along with the job. If you're talking about the fact that, oh, well, you couldn't just leave a team when you wanted to, like LeBron James, or force your way out of situations like James Harden, you know, or put together super teams at your will, or, you know, all these. If you're talking about these kind of things, to me, you know, it's like, suck it up. You're making millions of dollars. I'm really not and you know, I get people saying, oh, well, you know, the NBA was making way more money than they were paying the players. Well, that's great. I'm not against you making more money unless you're not earning it. But just because you make more money, again, you can make more money, but certain rules need to be kept in place for the sake of the quality of the game, for the fans. Again, Adam Silver has forgot why the NBA is in this position. Certain things need to be kept in place for the fans. It is good. It was a good thing when players couldn't just move around wherever they wanted to, because that allowed fans to not only lock into a player, because today they are only fans of the players. You know, because you have to be, because your player is probably going to change teams a few times in his career, and not just at the end of the career like it used to be. You know, the player's going to be moving all during his prime, chasing rings. So yeah, having players not able to just team hop is a good thing, because it allowed the fans to not only be a fan of the player, but be a fan of the team, to be a fan of the combination of the two, and to have that association. Again, back in the day, it meant something that when Michael Jordan and the Bulls faced Magic Johnson and the Lakers, you could count on saying Magic Johnson versus Michael Jordan. You know, you had both of those dynamics. But nowadays is this player empowerment and load management is like, how many times have you, well, not me, because I'm not that big a fan of of the current NBA, but the fans of the current NBA, and the people who are trying to hold on to their love for the NBA. How many times have you seen, oh, well, it's supposed to be the Lakers versus Warriors, but LeBron is ducking the smoke tonight. Supposed to be the Lakers versus the Bucks, but LeBron is ducking the smoke. Supposed to be the Lakers, but the Nuggets, but LeBron is ducking the smoke. Or KD is ducking the smoke. Or somebody is always load management, and you don't have that same consistency to look forward to the teams, because I mean, honestly, I know that players got injured back in the days, but when I think back in the days, I can't remember too many times where marquee players would miss out on games between each other. Number one, because those players were actually competitive. Like, they wanted to play. So if they had some kind of injury, like, you would really have to force this player not to play, because the players were gonna play. They were competitors. You know, if you were seeing the Indiana Pacers, you could count on seeing Reggie Miller versus Michael Jordan. You could count on these things. And so, yeah, and again, you know, it's funny because we talk about consistency a lot on this channel, and we talk about consistency from the players, but really the players are doing what the organization allows. And the reality of it is that the NBA as a whole is inconsistent. The reason we are seeing some of the most inconsistent superstars ever is because the NBA is allowing this. When you allow, again, I've said this before, whenever you change teams, you are starting the process all over. And let me also say this, that there is no amount of immediate chemistry that can replace chemistry that has been built up over the years. Let me say this again for you fanboys. There is no amount of immediate chemistry, aka super team, for you fanboys. Just because you think you loaded up with LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh, that is no guarantee. And we all saw this when 2011 happened and they got smacked in the face. So let me say this again for you fanboys. Immediate chemistry cannot compare to chemistry that has been built over the years. This is why LeBron James has never been part of a dynasty, because he's and no, he is not the dynasty. You know, he's someone who's just hopped from team to team and, you know, put together pieces to benefit him in the moment. But yeah, the NBA as a whole is consistent. And this is what Adam Silver has allowed, is this inconsistency. And we're going to try to keep this video short. So I'm going to just say this because I could keep going. But I do want to say this as well. For Adam Silver, who is, you know, bending at will to keep this player empowerment, you know, to obviously stay in the good graces of the players so he can be embraced every time they see him and all this crap. For Adam Silver, who's fostered in the softest era of basketball that we've ever seen, where it is completely focused on offense, where we just saw an all-star game where the total was over 400 points between both teams. For Adam Silver, who has fostered in this freedom of movement on the court and all of these things, it's gonna backfire. And I'm gonna tell you something. This is why, more than ever, that older fans of the NBA cannot accept this current brand of basketball. Because like I've said this before, there is always, in pretty much everything you can name, there's always been a battle of the generation, so to speak. And like I said, to me, that battle has always been for the best, because it is always the older generation that holds you to the standard, and it's the younger generation that tries to push forward. But the older generation is saying, okay, I understand you trying to push the game forward, but make sure you keep to the standard. Make sure you hold on to the fundamentals of the game. And so it works out that the game is pushed forward while maintaining the standards. But Adam Silver has allowed all the standards to be thrown out. Adam Silver has facilitated this. Adam Silver has embraced this. Again, Adam Silver wants to be liked by the players, and this has been his most important thing. But I think it's going to backfire, and I will say this, he's actually made it harder on these players and for their legacies for this very reason. Because whenever anyone talks about this present generation of players, the argument against them will always be, this is the softest era that has existed in the NBA. They have made everything about offense. And there is nothing you could do to explain this away. There's nothing you can do in the minds of basketball fans who understand that, again, you fanboys out there may be easily swayed by them just pushing narratives and say, oh, everybody's bigger, stronger, and faster. It's human evolution, right? These players are light years. Light years of evolution in 40 years. You fanboys might go for that. But for reasonable, logical basketball fans, we will always understand that, hey, look, you cannot tell me these players are more skilled when they are not having to deal with the same kind of obstacles as the players of the past. It doesn't make logical sense. That is like trying to tell me one car is faster than the other when, one car is driving off-road and the other one is on the pavement, on a paved road. It's like, no, this is not a direct comparison. And when you have made the game this much easier, like Adam Silver, you are responsible for the amount of scrutiny that these players get. And I will go as far as to say this. We about to wrap this up, but I will go as far as to say this, that Adam Silver is also directly responsible for a lot of these players not reaching their full potential. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you make something easier and easier, the drive to become as great as you can be at it, what drive do you have when you're constantly making something easier and easier? Again, especially if you're a competitor. Like I said, I don't know how many of you have played, maybe you have a friend, maybe you have a little brother or whatever, but you play against them and you beat them all the time. And at some point you like, hey, look, go practice before you come back to me. Like, this is not fun. Like, it's too easy to beat you. And so when you make something easier and easier, you are actually killing the drive of someone to try to overcome something. So Adam Silver has to take a lot of responsibility, not only for the criticism that these players get, but for a lot of them, for the inconsistency of these players, and for a lot of them not reaching their full potential. Ben Simmons, Zion Williamson. To me, this is the result of making the NBA super soft. This is a result of bending over backwards for these players to try to coddle their feelings and all this. Again, to me, the whole player empowerment thing, it wasn't needed. Now, if you wanted to play them more money, that's great. But as far as the other stuff about being able to control where you go and all that kind of stuff, that's hurting the game. And but anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of Draymond Green and Carmelo Anthony saying how Adam Silver was pretty much the person who spearheaded, or at least was facilitating this whole player empowerment thing. Do you think that anything good came from player empowerment? People who are just money hungry and that's all you can think about is the money, need not respond. But I'm talking about for the quality of the game of basketball. Do you think that this whole player entitlement movement has done anything positive for the product of basketball, for the game that the fans consume, for the game that you see on the TV? I'm not talking about anything else except for the game, how the game is played. Has player entitlement done anything to benefit how the game is played? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.